Okay, we've made it to the last section of chapter 4. This section is on dividing fractions, and we're going to be going from page 328 in your textbook, where it says divide fractions. To divide a fraction, multiply by its multiplicative inverse or reciprocal. Those two things are synonymous, meaning they mean the same thing: multiplicative inverse and reciprocal. I believe multiplicative inverse is one of your vocabulary words. Reciprocal is not, but I would like for you to add it. Reciprocal fractions. Reciprocal fractions are fractions when multiplied together equal 1. Reciprocal fractions are fractions when multiplied together equal 1. So, for example, 7/8 and 8/7 are reciprocal fractions. Why? Because when you multiply across, you get 56 over 56. So 56 over 56, that equals 1. 3/4 and 4/3 are reciprocal fractions, because when you multiply across, 3 times 4 is 12, 4 times 3 is 12, 12 over 12 equals 1. So reciprocal fractions, when multiplied together, equal 1. Now, with that, we're going to be able to use that to help us divide today. Take a look at example 1. To divide fractions, you're going to actually multiply by the reciprocal of the divisor. So example 1 on page 328 says, find 1/3 divided by 5. First of all, we have to review quickly which is the dividend and which is the divisor. The dividend is always the number that comes first. That is the number that is being divided. The second number is the divisor, and that number is always doing the dividing. This is the number, the divisor, is the one that we're going to have to use its reciprocal. To divide, we will actually first change this to 1/3 divided by 5 over 1. Just like with multiplication, we need to change all whole numbers to fractions. Then we are going to keep the dividend. We are going to change division to multiplication, and we are going to flip the divisor to its reciprocal and make it 1 over 5. Then we can multiply straight across. 1 and 3 times 5 is 15. Since that cannot be reduced, both numbers were positive, and it is not an improper fraction. 1/15 is our answer. So again, we kept the dividend, we changed the division to multiplication, and we flipped the divisor to its reciprocal. So KCF. KCF. Take a look at example number 2 on page 329. It says 3/4 divided by -1/2. First thing you want to note here is the negative sign in the divisor. We know in division, just like with multiplication, same signs positive and different signs negative. So on this problem, we will end up with a negative answer. So you might want to take note of that right at the beginning. We don't have to change anything to improper fractions here because we just have regular fractions. So we will, again, keep the dividend, change division to multiplication, and flip the divisor to its reciprocal and make it negative 2 over 1. Before I multiply across and get my negative answer, I want to see if I can reduce, and I can. I can take 2 and divide it by 2 and make it a 1. I can take 4 and divide it by 2 and make it a 2. So 2/4 reduces to 1/2. Now I'm going to multiply straight across, and 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. 2 times 1 is 2. I get negative 3 over 2, but that is an improper fraction. So I have to change that to a mixed number by dividing 2 into negative 3, which goes 1 time, negative 1, and then I have 1 left over, and I put that back over 2. So 2 goes into 3, 1 time, 3 minus 2 is 1, and I put that over 2. So negative 1 and 1/2, and it cannot be simplified because we simplified back before we multiplied. Okay? You can get to the letter problems here in a little bit, but let's go ahead and go over examples 3 and 4 first. Example 3 on page 329, it says divide mixed numbers. To divide by a mixed number, first rename the mixed number as a fraction greater than 1. In other words, we're going to change mixed numbers to improper fractions. Improper fractions. Then multiply the first fraction by the reciprocal or multiplicative inverse of the second fraction. So just like with multiplication, when we go to do page 329, example 3, we need to change our mixed numbers into improper fractions. So I have 2/3 divided by the mixed number 3 1/3. I will rewrite the problem, 2/3 divided by 3 times 3 is 9 plus 1 is 10 over 3. Then I will keep the dividend, change division to multiplication, and flip the divisor over and make it its reciprocal. So keep, change, flip. Then before I want to multiply, I need to do any kind of reducing. Well, hopefully you can see that 3 and 3 are reciprocals of each other. So when they divide, they equal 1. Then 2 and 10 can also be simplified. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So I have 1 over 1 times 1 over 5. So that's just 1 times 1/5, and I get 1/5 as my answer. I've already simplified back here in the problem. It cannot be negative because both numbers were positive, and it is not an improper fraction. So 1/5 is my answer. Before you do the lettered problems, D, E, and F, let's finish going over our examples with example 4. It says, the side pieces of a butterfly house are 8 1/4 inches long. How many side pieces can be cut from a board measuring 49.5 inches long? Let's take a second to study this problem. We are trying to find how many side pieces can be cut from a board measuring 49.5 inches long. Well, 49.5 inches is one of our facts, and how many side pieces can be cut from it is the question. We need other facts. In addition to the 49.5 inches long, we have pieces that are 8 1/4 inches long. So you have to ask yourself in this problem, first of all, what is the operation we're going to use? And since you see the word cut here, cutting something indicates that we are either going to subtract or divide. And since we're cutting pieces out of a long board and we're basically breaking it into pieces, that is division. So I know that my operation is division. Now, with our two numbers, we have to ask ourselves, which one's being divided and which one's doing the dividing. When you have a word problem that's all positive, most likely the larger of the two numbers is the one that's going to be divided. So let's read and make sure that that is the case here, because it says you have a board measuring 49.5 inches long, and we're cutting it into pieces that are 8.25 inches long. So which one of those things am I cutting? Yeah, I'm cutting the board. So that is my dividend, and it needs to come first. That means the pieces that I'm dividing it into, that's going to be my divisor and has to come second. So we're going to divide 49.5 inches by 8.25 inches. I'm going to rewrite that problem over here so that I have room to work. Step number 1, change my mixed numbers to improper fractions. 2 times 49, is 98, plus 1 is 99. And I'm going to put that over 2. We're still doing division because we haven't done anything to change it to multiplication yet. And we're going to multiply 8 times 4 and get 32, plus 1 is 33. And we put that back over 4. Now we have changed it to improper fractions. We can go ahead and start changing it into a multiplication problem. You're going to keep the dividend, 99 over 2, change division to multiplication, and flip the divisor over to the reciprocal. Now, when I look at this problem, something jumps out at me. A couple things jump out at me. First of all, 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. That's like 4 over 2 and 2 over 1. They're the same fraction. But also, I can see that 9 is divisible by 3, so 99 should be divisible by 33. 33 goes into 33 one time, and 33 times 3 would equal 99, so 99 divided by 33 is 3. So what I end up with is 3 over 1 times 2 over 1. And when I multiply that, I get 6 over 1, which equals 6. Please forgive me for running out of space there. So going back to the word problem, how many pieces can be cut from a 49.5 inch long piece of wood that are 8.25 inches long? Well, we came up with the whole number 6, which makes total sense in this problem. So we could get 6 pieces. You always want to go back in your problems and go, hey, does my answer make sense? We call that examining the results. And for this word problem, we get 6 pieces of wood that we're going to make a butterfly house out of. So it does make sense.